What if the single biggest upgrade you could give your brain, it cost you nothing, required no supplements, no special diet, and took only 7 days? Most people assume their phone is just a tool, something neutral, something they control. But neuroscience has spent the last decade building a very different picture. Your phone isn't just something you use, it's something that actively reshapes the structure and chemistry of your brain every single day you use it. The fascinating part isn't what happens when you use your phone too much. The fascinating part is what happens when you stop, because the brain doesn't just return to baseline, it does something far more interesting. And the timeline is surprisingly specific. Researchers can now track these changes day by day, hour by hour, using brain scans, cognitive tests, and hormonal measurements. What they found is not vague self-help language. It's a sequence of measurable neurological shifts that follow an almost predictable pattern. Here is exactly what happens to your brain, day by day, when you put the phone down for 7 days. Within the first few hours of day 1, most people experience something they don't expect: restlessness, a low-grade anxiety, an almost physical urge to check something, anything. This isn't weakness, it's neurochemistry. Your brain's reward system runs on dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with anticipation and seeking behavior. Every notification, every scroll, every like delivers a small dopamine pulse. Over months and years of daily phone use, your brain recalibrates its dopamine baseline to expect this constant stimulation. Dr. Anna Lembke, a psychiatrist at Stanford University and author of Dopamine Nation, describes this recalibration as the brain tilting its reward system toward pain rather than pleasure. When the expected stimulation disappears, even briefly, the brain interprets this as a deficit. That restless feeling on day 1 isn't boredom, it's mild dopamine withdrawal. Research published in the journal Computers in Human Behavior found that heavy smartphone users who abstained for just 24 hours showed elevated cortisol levels, the same stress hormone that spikes during genuine threat responses. The phone had become so embedded in the brain's regulation system that its absence registered as a low-level emergency. A separate study from the University of Bonn used continuous behavioral tracking to count how often participants reached for a phone that wasn't there during the first day of abstinence. The average was 86 phantom reaches in a single waking day, a clear sign of how deeply automatic the behavior had become at the neural level. By the end of day 1, the cortisol begins to settle. The urges don't disappear, but they start to lose their urgency. The first detox window has opened. By the second and third nights, something measurable begins to shift in your sleep. Smartphone screens emit blue light in a wavelength range that directly suppresses melatonin production in the pineal gland. But the light itself is only part of the problem. The content keeps your brain in an alert, socially engaged state that is neurologically incompatible with the transition into deep sleep. A 2019 study from the University of California, San Francisco tracked sleep quality in participants before and after a 1-week phone reduction. By night 3, slow-wave sleep duration had increased by an average of 22%. Slow-wave sleep is the deepest stage, the stage where your brain performs glymphatic clearance, essentially flushing out metabolic waste including proteins linked to cognitive decline. By day 3, most people report something they describe as sleeping more deeply than they have in years. Dreams become more vivid. This is REM rebound, the brain catching up on REM sleep it had been chronically shortchanged on. Better sleep means better everything, because almost every other brain function, memory consolidation, emotional regulation, immune response, creative insight, runs through sleep quality. 2 nights of properly restored sleep architecture changes your morning more than any supplement or routine ever could. By day 4, something quieter but perhaps more significant begins to happen. The ability to focus starts to return. Sustained attention, the capacity to hold focus on a single task for an extended period, is one of the cognitive functions most directly degraded by habitual smartphone use. A landmark 2015 study from Microsoft Canada found that average human attention span had dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds by 2013. A period that maps almost precisely onto the rise of the smartphone. The mechanism is what neuroscientists call attentional switching costs. Every time you pick up your phone mid-task, your brain doesn't just pause what it was doing and resume later. It pays a neurological tax each time it shifts context. Research from the University of California, Irvine found that after a phone interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes for the brain to return to full focused engagement with the original task. By days 4 and 5, without that constant switching, the prefrontal cortex, the region governing executive function and sustained attention, begins recovering its capacity for depth. People often describe this as a feeling of being able to read again, genuinely read, without the urge to stop every few paragraphs. A 2023 study published in PLOS ONE confirmed this trajectory. Participants who abstained from smartphones for 5 days showed significant improvements in sustained attention tasks compared to a control group. The brain hadn't magically repaired itself. It had simply been given enough uninterrupted time to demonstrate what it was always capable of. Day 6 is where something genuinely surprising happens for most people. A return of something they didn't realize they had lost. Daydreaming. Not the distracted kind, but rich, spontaneous, self-generated thought. The kind where you're staring at the ceiling and suddenly the solution to a problem you hadn't consciously been thinking about just arrives. This is the default mode network activating properly. The default mode network is a system of brain regions that becomes active specifically during unstructured mental downtime. It is where the brain integrates past experience with future planning, generates creative insight, processes complex emotions, and constructs your coherent sense of self. Neuroscientist Dr. Marcus Rachel, who first mapped the default mode network at Washington University, described it as the brain's most metabolically expensive system. It does some of its most sophisticated work precisely when you stop giving it tasks to perform. Studies using fMRI imaging consistently show that this network burns nearly 20% of the brain's total energy budget during what looks externally like complete idleness. The problem is that smartphones have essentially eliminated the idle time the default mode network requires. Every commute has a podcast, every waiting room has Instagram, every spare moment has a screen. Chronic stimulation keeps the brain perpetually in an input-receiving mode, and the default mode network, which requires genuine mental silence to activate fully, remains chronically underused. By day 6 of a phone detox, most people report the spontaneous return of mental imagery, creative ideas arising unprompted, a clearer sense of what they actually want, not what the algorithm suggested they should want. On day 7, you don't feel like a different person. You feel more like yourself, and there's a neurological reason for that distinction. A 2021 study published in NeuroImage followed participants through a 7-day smartphone abstinence period using fMRI imaging before and after. What the scans showed was striking. Functional connectivity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region most associated with self-regulation, long-term planning, and impulse control, had measurably increased, while connectivity in the regions associated with reactive, stimulus-driven behavior had correspondingly reduced. In plain terms, the brain had shifted its activity balance from reactive to deliberate. Participants also showed reduced amygdala reactivity. The amygdala is your brain's threat detection system. Its alarm bell. Chronic social media use keeps the amygdala in a low-level state of activation, comparing, evaluating, reacting to social signals continuously. After 7 days without that input, amygdala activity had quieted to levels more consistent with lower baseline anxiety states. Perhaps most meaningfully, self-reported measures of life satisfaction, sense of purpose, and quality of social connection all increased, not because the participants had done anything dramatic, but because the brain had recovered enough clarity to accurately perceive what was already there. Dr. Jean Twenger, a psychologist at San Diego State University whose research tracks well-being across generations, describes this return as the brain rediscovering its own signal beneath the noise. 7 days, 7 measurable, documented, neurological shifts, dopamine recalibration on day 1, deep sleep restoration by night 3, attention span rebuilding through days 4 and 5, the default mode network coming back online on day 6, and by day 7, a brain that scans show is structurally more connected, less reactive, and more capable of the kind of deliberate thinking that makes life feel like something you're steering rather than something happening to you. What makes this timeline interesting isn't just that the changes happen, it's how quickly they happen. 7 days is not a long time in the context of habits that took years to form, but the brain is biologically wired to respond to environmental change. When the constant stimulation disappears, the brain's natural rhythms reassert themselves faster than most people expect. You don't have to quit your phone forever. You don't have to throw it in a drawer or move to the woods. For most people, Even small structural shifts produce noticeable differences. A no-phone hour after waking, a screen-free meal each day, a walk without headphones. Each of these creates micro-windows where the same recovery mechanisms can activate, just on a smaller scale. But your brain is quietly making a case for giving it one full week, just once, just to see what happens. Because the gap between how your brain feels with a phone and how it feels without one is something most people have completely forgotten exists. If this changed how you see your daily relationship with your phone, subscribe. Every week we go deeper into the science of how your brain actually works and what you can do with that information starting today.